The Ohio and Indiana Bar Associations require we give the names and addresses of attorneys on the show, so here we go. We have Mike Mooney today with us, the Michael Mooney and Stephen Olden Law Offices on Main Street downtown. And of course, as always, Don Moore at the Moore Law Firm, 1060 Nimitzview Drive, Cincinnati 45230. You can get all this information at Fox19.com. Just click on More Law. And of course, you can go there anytime and see all the shows that we've done in the past.
Yeah, you can. I've had a lot of people ask me about that, and they think that's really neat, that if they've missed a show and they're interested in, or they work during the day, they can go back and watch a show that interests them. Okay, great. And you had an interesting graphic you wanted to show the viewers. Yeah, we have, so often we have someone who's involved in a terrible wreck, and this is a picture of a wreck that we were involved in, we handled for some folks, and they instantly go from being a wage earner and a person who's productive to a person who can no longer earn a wage and still have bills and family to support. So there may be enough insurance proceeds to help them out, that is from the person who was at fault, or there may not. And if they're not, then suddenly they're put in the category that we're talking about today, that is applying for Social Security disability insurance. And Mike, you often see people in that sort of a circumstance, am I correct?
Absolutely, and it's the most difficult adjustment anybody has to make, because they had no advance warning. Suddenly they're completely and profoundly disabled, and they have the physical problems, and they have the mental fallout for suddenly their life is, as they understood it, is over, and they go from being a producer to a person who's using this, drawing back down from the system. It's a huge adjustment emotionally, so it's tough for people physically and mentally. And so frequently, at least for us, so frequently there is not enough insurance to go around. Right. So they do fall back then on the Social Security system. Exactly. Okay. Which is what it's for.
We have time for a few more calls. Let's go first to Mary in Covington. Mary?
Yes. My question is, my daughter was diagnosed with MS, and I know that she needs to apply for disability. But my question is, will she be turned down?
Well, that's a good question. MS is one of those conditions that's kind of tricky because, as you know, it waxes and it wanes. It has periods of remission when there's no symptoms, and other times when it just flattens the person. So partly it will depend on how severe it is, how long it's been diagnosed, and how much medical records, how much medical evidence exists as to how severe it is and documenting its frequency. But the bigger the problem for her, the easier the case for her. So it's just a judgment call. If it flares up for a day or two a year, it's not going to be a big deal. But if it keeps her in bed a lot, then she's got a great case.
Mike, how important is what the doctor has to say as far as a report or whatever narrative he gives or how he does his records? What kind of role does that play?
Social Security claims are 99%, in my opinion, doctor-driven.
Okay.
I can say the person's disabled. My client can come in, raise the right hand, swear to tell the truth, be painfully honest about their life. If there's not a doctor also in the background saying it's real, they're not going to get anywhere. I don't even take cases if a person doesn't have a doctor. I just can't. I mean, it's a gun with no ammunition. I don't have anything to work with. So people have to get medical care, and I understand it's very difficult. Lots of times, they don't have health insurance, they don't have free clinics available, and they're just stuck. And I'm sympathetic, but I can't help that person.
It's really frustrating when the person really is hurt or disabled in some way, and the doctor just isn't very articulate. Doesn't adequately describe what's going on.
One of the jobs the attorney has is making the doctor more articulate. So if there is a doctor that I can work with, then the person has a chance. Because I can usually get the doctor to see what the point of the problem is. But when there is no doctor, then there's no case, basically.
Okay. All right, back to the phones now. Sharon in Hamilton. Sharon?
Hi, Mr. Sharon. My question is, I've been fighting Social Security since like 2006 because I total knee replacement. Now they had to cut my leg off. And I'm just wondering how long it's going to take to be able to security, because I can't work.
I didn't hear all of the question because I think the cell phone's breaking up.
She's been fighting since 2006.
Okay.
So is that unusual to find people that struggle that long against Social Security or making a claim for Social Security to get approval?
No, I mean, what typically happens is that the course of an average case is 2 to 3 years. So a person who's been fighting since 2006 has probably lost a couple of times and then restarted the clock, started all over again, went through the process, had a restart. So, you know, my advice to most people is be patient. Don't be overly discouraged. It is a slow, tedious situation, but good things come to those who are patient and wait. It does make a lot of sense to bring in, if you're having constant turndowns, it makes sense to bring an attorney in at some point to evaluate the case and give you some honest advice. Is it a good case, or maybe it's not such a good case in spite of whatever you think about it? Or if it is a good case and just hasn't been put together right, that's what the attorney does. So maybe get some help that way.
So when is a good time to bring the Social Security disability attorney in? Right from the very beginning, or later, or what's best?
Yeah, that's an interesting issue, and I typically discuss it with each client because I think it's a client-by-client decision. Some people don't want to worry about Social Security. They want to say, I'm giving it to you, Mr. Lawyer. You take care of everything. I've got enough on my mind. I've got the pain, etc. So you solve these problems. I'll just give everything to you. If the person has the ability to do it somewhat on their own, I usually tell them, try it on your own and see what happens. If it's such a good case, and often it is, you're going to win without me.
So if it's
then they don't have to pay me.
So if it's a lay down, carry on.
Sure.
If it's going to be very difficult, they probably should have an attorney in the beginning.
It's a good way of putting it.
And just very quickly, how do Social Security lawyers get paid?
Attorneys get paid if and only they win the case for their clients. So they get 25% with a cap of $6,000. In other words, the fee never goes over $6,000. If they get $1 million, which they wouldn't, but just for example, the fee is never going to go over $6,000. If they don't win, they don't owe the attorney a penny.
Okay.
All right,
good.
Mike Mooney, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's great to be here.
And on next week we have...
Next week it's all about injuries.
All right. We'll be looking forward to that. We'll be looking forward to seeing you next week at 9:30. We'll be taking your questions on any kind of personal injury. Have a great week.